So I'm just going to show you how to make a little fox cake topper. Very, very simple, very easy to do. I have some brown fondant, which is actually chocolate flavoured. I have some just plain white fondant and a little bit of black just for the details. So first of all, I'm just going to put some gum tragacanth into the brown fondant. It's just to make it dry harder. It's almost like making like using modelling paste or modelling chocolate instead of fondant, but it's just really easy to do. I find that fondant with gum tragacanth or CNC in is easier to handle than modelling paste. I just find that very difficult, very hard. It's not as soft and pliable, and it's also a lot cheaper to do it this way. So there, I've just put the gum tragacanth into the brown fondant. And now what I'm going to do, this is only going to be a small fox, so I'm just going to take my sharp knife and divide this piece of fondant roughly in half. So the larger half I'm just going to put to one side for the head, the legs and the tail, and then this slightly smaller half we're just going to smooth out between the palms, just putting a slight pressure on to get rid of all the creases, and then using more pressure on the little finger side of my palms, I'm just going to roll it into a teardrop shape, and then I'm going to place that on the board and just sort of push down, again keeping it teardrop shaped so that we then have a flat bottom on which the fox can sit. Now we're not going to keep that quite so pointy because the head's not going to sit on there, so you just want to push that down ever so slightly. At this point you might just want to put a cocktail stick down into the body. Now to avoid squashing the shape that we've got, it's best to twist it down rather than just pushing it straight down. Place it in and twist it down, and then that way it doesn't actually squash the shape that we've got. So that's probably going to be a little bit long. So what I'm going to do is just nip off about the bottom centimetre of that cocktail stick and place it back in there. So to do the legs, what I'm going to do, this larger half of the brown, I'm probably going to cut it more or less in half again. Yeah, because the fox is going to have quite a large head, that's what makes him cute. So I'm going to put that aside for the head, and then I'm going to more or less cut this in half for the legs. I'm going to just take a little bit off each one of those and put that aside for the tail. So we've got two pieces here. Very simply, the legs are, the arms and the legs, sorry, all the legs, we don't have arms. I'm just going to, there's two balls there, I'm just going to cut those in half each so that you know you've got the right size. So they're going to be the back legs and these are going to be the front legs. So roll those into little balls and just place them to one side. So we'll do the back legs first. Again, a little bit of pressure just to make sure it's all nice and crease free and smooth. And then I'm going to roll that into a tapered sausage shape. Do both of those so they are the same size. So tapered so that it's actually going to fit around the body. So if you can see what I'm doing here, I'm just going to place those and they fit quite snugly around his body and just sort of stick out the front. Now I'm going to take a small ball of the black fondant, again roll it so that it's crease free. I'm going to cut it in half, and basically I'm going to try and keep it in the sort of little half shape like that. I'm going to place those, put a little bit of water on the end of each of the little legs, and I'm just going to use the softness of the fondant to put those two together so they fit quite nicely on the end. You can see the join, but that's just where the colour of his fur changes. So there's his little feet, and I'm going to take a cocktail stick and just applying a tiny little bit of pressure, I'm just going to mark in where his paws would be, just to make that look more like paws. So I hope you can see that. Again, on this side, just press those in to make them look more like paws. There. Okay, so now we can, that's his back legs done. So I'm going to do the same with his front legs. Tapered sausage, and small amount of black, rolled into a ball, cut them in half, and then just with a little bit of water on the end of each of those, just going to push those onto there. And again, mark the paws.
I need to do it.
Okay. I'm just going to mark the paws. And place those onto the body. Please go, darling. I'm recording a video. I'll be down in a minute, okay? All right, my darling. Love you. William's washing his hands. Come on, hurry up, please.
I did this one for when I did this one fast.
Okay, hurry up, please, because we've got to go and get Holly in a minute.
It's so much more now.
It's all right, darling. Don't worry. Use your minion soap. Oh, never mind. Just rinse your hands, darling. Okay, go downstairs, please.
There was a big bubble.
Was there?
A really big one. Really big.
Okay, so to make the head, we're going to roll this piece of brown fondant into sort of an oval shape, like that, and then we're going to place it on the board and just pinch the sides in a little bit, flatten it down. And I'm going to use my fingers and just sort of press in some little eye sockets and just pull those little bits, pointy bits down. Now we want to try and make the bottom of the face into more of a snout. So just using your fingers, push in where the eye sockets go and just sort of tease out a little snout here at the bottom. So we want a pointy little snout there. And I'm just going to use a cocktail stick and just mark sort of the bottom of his snout there. Now it'll make it a little bit easier to take a tiny bit of black and just place that with a little bit of water onto the end of where his snout would be, just to give him a little nose. Okay, now you might need to wipe your fingers because you've been using black. Just wipe them on a damp cloth. Otherwise you end up with black marks on your white fondant. So we'll just make some little sockets for his eyes. And I want these oversized to make him look really cute. So what I'm going to do is take probably a large pea, small grape size of a ball, and then cut that in half, and each one of those just roll into a little teardrop shape. Now these might be too big, but I'm just going to try them, and we're just going to place those. Yeah, they're too big, so I'm just going to get rid of one of those and cut this one in half, because we need to be able to flatten them into those sockets that we've just made. So again, teardrop shape and a teardrop shape. Now before we put them on his face, we'll just flatten them a little bit, and then we're just going to place them and really push them down into those holes that we made, to the indentations, should I say. They're his sort of eyes. And then two tiny pieces, so one tiny ball, and cut that in half to make his little eyes. Now they're really simple eyes. I'm not going for anything fancy. He's just a little cute little fox. There we go. So there's his little face. Now obviously he needs some ears, so I'm going to use this little piece here. That's probably going to be too big, so what I'm going to do, I'll cut that more or less in half, roll a little ball. Just going to make it sort of into an oval shape. Cut that in half, and then I'm going to just start pulling at the end of one of those. I'm going to flatten that bottom bit, the cut bit off, and start pulling at the end to make little triangles, and then just lay those there. And then we need to do the same again, but in miniature with black. So an oval, and just cut that in half, flatten the cut end, and pinch out the rounded end. I'm going to place that on top. So flatten out the cut side and point the rounded end, and place it on top of the brown bit that we've just made. Now I'm going to take a ball tool, but you can use your fingers if you want to, just to squash that down. I'm going to squash it like that, whether you can see properly. So I've just squashed those two pieces onto each other, so they've got a nice concave look from the ball tool. I'll do the same with this one. I'll do it on my hand a little bit closer. So they're just sat on top of each other, excuse the yellow food colouring, and I'm just going to squish them into each other like that. So flatten off the cut side again. You can tweak the pointed end, flatten off that, and tweak that. Now what we need to do is, his ears are sort of going to go just to the sides on top of his head, and I'm going to place them on and just push them down till they make a nice join. So place that on, push it down, and then we have a cute little fox head. So he can now I'm just going to use the cocktail stick to make a little guide hole, again twisting into his head so that we're not squashing his head when we put it onto the body. And looking where the guide hole is, I'm just going to put his head on at a slight angle so that he looks really cute. It's a little fox. So all that's left to do now is to make his tail. That's what I left that bit for. So I'm going to take a decent size, you need a nice big bushy tail, so a grape size, and then I'm going to take some white about the same size. So we've got two like that. And then what I'm going to do is squish them together. Okay, so I'll squash them like that. And then I'm just going to roll them to try and get them to join together seamlessly. So as you can see, rolling them in my hand has made them join together like that. You just keep going and it's a nice ball. So you take that where it's half and half, and I'm just going to roll it between my palms to make it into a sausage rather than a ball, and then I'm going to pull out each end so that it looks like a bushy tail, where you can put some fur lines in that if you want to, using a cocktail stick or a tool like this if you've got one. So just to sort of make it look a bit more fur-like, just to put some lines on there, and then obviously that needs to be placed around the back of him to make his tail. And there you have a nice little fox for the top of your cake. Thank you so much for watching another cake decorating tutorial from Mrs. B Bakes. If you like it, please leave a thumbs up, leave a comment if you wish, and please subscribe to my channel to be the first person to hear about my new videos. Thank you.